This is the Gateron Yellow. It has a milky top, nylon bottom, and palm stem. You can buy them for 22 cents per switch. This is the Gateron X, and it has a milky top, nylon bottom, and palm stem. These are 49 cents per switch. So with the same specs and the same manufacturer, why is one switch more than double the cost of the other? If you've taken your first few steps into the rabbit hole of the mechanical keyboard hobby, you've probably made a post like this on the mechanical keyboard subreddit. And until very recently, with switches like the JWIX and the Acco CS series, the Gateron Yellow was the unequivocal best value linear switch. After some lube and a lot of spring tuning, the Gat Yellow punches way above its weight class. But we're in 2022, and there's finally some competition in the top tier budget switch category. Enter the Gateron X. First released in late 2021 with a very Gateron Yellow-esque aesthetic, the Gateron X shares the same nylon bottom and milky top as the KS3X47 Yellow, which was desirable by many due to the deeper sound signature of the milky top over the nylon top KS3 Yellow. The Gateron X also boasted a new bottom housing mold and polished rails and stem sliders, which should help with smoothness. But do the improvements to the Gateron Yellow justify doubling the price? Let's find out right after you smoothly polish that like button. So like I mentioned, the Gateron X comes with a milky top, a nylon bottom, and a polished palm stem. The stem also has an improved mold that comes from the Gateron G Pro line of switches. So this isn't just a recolored Gateron Yellow. But before we get to the typing test, there are a few points I wanted to clarify based on my research. First, let's talk about polishing. Now, in an attempt to achieve maximum smoothness out of scratchy switches, switch modders have polished switches using diamond polishing compound. The process is pretty messy, but you dab a bit of diamond compound on the bottom housing rails and actuate the switch until it reaches your desired level of smoothness. Then you clean off the diamond compound, which leads to a much smoother switch. If you're an RPG addict that also loves keyboards, give this Keep Talk thread that I've linked below a read. But you've been warned that experimenting may take up to several hours of your life. To me, the main benefit of diamond polishing as opposed to using a switch breaking machine like this one from Feng Studios is that a switch breaking machine can take hours for one batch to hit 250,000 actuations, especially if you're doing off-centered key presses to simulate actual typing. The diamond polish really cuts down on that needed time because there is an abrasive material aiding in the process. One other thing I wanted to mention if you're planning on diamond polishing your own switches is that for the best results, you really should keep the housing and stems together, as the theory behind polishing or lapping two surfaces together requires that the mated surfaces remain consistent to keep the wear pattern. Every post and video I've seen regarding diamond polishing fails to do that during the cleaning phase, which would theoretically reduce the benefit of diamond polishing. However, that also means that you need to individually clean each switch you polish for the maximum benefit, which is why I said you've been warned. Getting back to the Gateron X's, I was really excited to hear they've been polished because I thought that meant that they were diamond polished from the factory. However, when I reached out to my sources, I was informed that factory polishing means that they've polished the molds while producing the switch, not the switch parts themselves. I don't really know what that process would entail, but assuming switches are made by pouring plastic into a mold, it seems reasonable that a polished mold would lead to a smoother switch. Although as you can see from these close-up shots of the stem and bottom housing rails, there are still mold marks on the stem sliders, and they aren't perfectly smooth like a diamond polished switch would be. That being said, the Gateron X's are very smooth stock, and they have a pleasant sound and type feel. Here's the stock typing test. To better emulate the sound of typing on a keyboard, I've decided to try a row of switches instead of single switch typing tests. Let me know what you think about the change in the comments below. Overall, I think the Gateron X switch sounds perfectly usable stock, but it definitely shines after lubing and filming. You can hear the huge difference that lubing and filming makes in the switch from the single switch sound tests, yeah. Here's a quick typing test after I lubed with 205G0 and filmed with desk key films. So it's time to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. To give you some context, the good are strong points of switch performance. The bad are any objective flaws or deal breakers that I might notice. As for the ugly, I'd like to talk about some subjective gripes that I have with the product because everybody has different preferences. First, the good. These switches are a more refined Gateron Yellow. That much is pretty clear. When I compared the diamond polished yellows to the Gateron X's, there wasn't a huge difference in sound, although I would say that the diamond polished yellows were a little smoother. On the other hand, you also have to remember that the diamond polished switches were broken in for over 110,000 actuations. Also good, they sound phenomenal after modding. Switch wobble is also pretty solid and I never found it a bother. Next, the bad. I never found anything really objectively bad about these switches. They're a solid basic switch that takes a renowned formula and makes it better. There is a tiny bit of spring noise, but it's definitely not as bad as my old Gateron Yellows, so it seems like they might have improved the spring quality in the Gateron X's. Now for the ugly. They're 49 cents per switch, and at that price they're over twice as expensive as the milky top, nylon bottom, KS3X47 Gateron Yellows. Now you could pick up some yellows, some lube, and film, and probably be at a similar price point to the Gateron X's. However, I think that the cost, as everything else in this hobby, comes down to perspective. The stock Gateron X is a better switch than the Gateron Yellow. It has a cleaner sound signature and it feels more refined. I have to think that modding the Gateron X's will lead to a better result than modding the yellows, and if you're trying to maximize performance, it might be worth it to spend the extra $20 or so for a nicer build. So what else is ugly? To me, these switches are reminiscent of a Noctua fan, just in time for MT3 Noctua. Overall, I think the Gateron X's are solid switches, but I can't see a huge market for them in the current state of the hobby, because if you're willing to make the jump from a Gateron Yellow or a J-Wick, you'd probably spend 10 cents more per switch for an even more refined switch. Now let me know what you think in the comments below. I like you, I'm MakerMods, and I'll catch you in the next video.